Hello and welcome, boys and girls. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make cards and illustrate flowers. All right, and so we're going to get started by first of all searching up a flower that you might like to search up. So what I started with was just Connecticut flowers. And one of the things I want to show you is how to get a high resolution image. And to do that, when you type in Google and you're in the images panel, you want to find the settings panel and go to advanced search. And right here where it says image size, you want to select large image size and then to click on this blue button called the advanced search. What that's going to do is going to give you only high definition large photos that you can pick from. And then it's your job to go through and pick a flower that you like the looks of and that you think would look nice with pen and ink and watercolor. And you could do a couple of these, so pick maybe a couple of different images, but the image is going to be your reference photo. So what I did is I picked out the Black-Eyed Susan because I thought that looked like a nice one. It looked simple, but it also looked beautiful. And I found a picture here that has not only the flower, but it also has the bud before the flower and a picture of the leaf because I think I want to include all of those parts, which are important parts of the plant. So when I click on this, I get this, again, nice little close-up. And what you may want to do on your Chromebook is two-finger click, and that'll give you a context menu where you can save the image. All right? So once you have an image, you're going to take that image and save it to your computer so that you can use it as your reference photo. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the paper. We're going to need a 9 by 12 paper, just a regular sheet of paper. We're going to divide this paper in half. So I'm going to take it and I join the corners and I'm going to fold it in half. And then I'm going to take and really crease that crease. And I'm going to take and dip my finger here in some water. I have some water over here for my watercolors. And I'm going to put a little drop of water right here on the top. And I'm going to run my finger across that edge. And what that's going to do is going to weaken the fibers, the paper fibers along that edge, so that when I open it, it will easily tear. So I'm going to hold, put some pressure on one piece, and tear outwards with the other piece until I have two pieces of paper. This way, I can take those and make them into cards. So here we go. We've got a nice little card. This makes a great greeting card, birthday card, thank you card, etc. And you can hold it like this or like this depending on what picture you're using. Now, as you saw, the picture I was using looks like this. It is a Black-Eyed Susan. It's got this cute little green bug on it. I'm not sure if I'm going to include that or not. So I'm going to use my reference photo. And I'm going to start with pencils. So let me zoom in. The first thing we're going to use is a pencil. And let me zoom in so that I can lay this out. You want to always start with a sketch very lightly so that you can erase. Now remember, we're always going to sketch when we're working in pen and ink because we definitely are going to erase everything that we want. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of get my pencil up where I think it should belong, and I'm looking at my reference photo and I see that the important part here is this brown center, which is kind of like a cone. It comes up almost like a cone shape, and we've studied the four forms, so I know you know what a cone is. And then out of that shape right here is a little tip, and then out of this comes all these beautiful yellow leaves. And again, I'm going to just take and I'm going to sketch these beautiful yellow leaves that are coming out, overlapping one another, coming all different directions, stemming out, again overlapping, underlapping. Just again, very simple. Very simple flower. So once I have the basic flower the way I like it, then I'm going to look for the stem, and I see the stem comes out somewhere here. And just comes down. So again, sketching. Don't worry, because you're going to erase all this in the end. I'll go right off the page. Then I see the leaf itself, which is kind of a rounded green leaf. Flares out a little bit, comes up and over. And I also want to put this leaf here, which is coming off the side. Again, it starts thin and moves to thick as it makes its way about. And then I also want to include this small bud, which shows the next flower that is going to come out, which is why I chose this picture, because it has a picture of the bud before the flower actually appears, and it kind of looks like this. And comes down into the stem. Alright, so once you have your layout in pencil all sketched out, you're going to get your pen. Now you could use a Sharpie, or if you don't have a Sharpie, you can use a colored pencil to do this. I'm going to use my Kohinoor Rapidograph pen, which is it's a permanent ink, just like a Sharpie. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sketching. And I'm going to start with this important part here. And as I'm sketching, I'm just kind of redefining the important parts of the flower. to this and really make it pop. Now when you're using the watercolor, what you'll want to do, let me just zoom this out just a touch, put the watercolor here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. And you want to use a small brush so that you can get the details in. I'm using a little number 3 sable brush. And what I'm going to do is first of all start by looking at my picture and putting water in the colors that I think I'm going to use. I think I'm going to definitely use some yellow. I'm definitely going to use some orange. So I'm going to put some water right now in those colors to sort of activate those colors and get them ready to use. And I'm definitely going to use some brown and some green. And I'll probably end up using some blue for the background. Maybe even a little bit of purple. So I'll put some water in the colors that I think I'm going to use to get those softened up for me. Alright. And you'll want to have a paper towel handy so you can use that. Alright, and what I recommend is when you're working with watercolor, you want to start with your lightest colors first because you can always go darker, but it's harder to take back whatever you've put down. So you want to start with your lightest colors. So in this case, I'm going to start out with just some yellow. And again, this is mostly water, a little bit of color, because that's what watercolor is. Mostly water, a little bit of color. We want to be able to see the pen. So we're putting mostly water, just a touch of color, mostly water. So we're going to come in, just get those yellows. That's the easy part right there. Get that yellow. Want to be careful to keep it inside the lines if you can. And again, lots of water, a little bit of color. You want to always be able to see through it. Watercolor is a beautiful transparent medium, so we want to be able to see through it. Got that a little bit too dark. I got a little bit of orange in there with it, which is fine. If you get too much paint, you can always wipe off your brush and then come back immediately and soak up some of that paint if you find you got it too much. Alright, so next I'm going to work on that brown center, and I want to add a little bit of yellow and a little bit of brown. So a little bit of yellow, a little bit of brown. I'm going to mix that over here on the side. And again, lots of water. You never want to make it so dark you can't see through it. So we're spreading those brown and yellow, spreading that around. And again, I dab off my brush. I can soak up some of this excess. Right, and I am going to add a little bit of black here, a little bit of black or a little bit of purple. You know what, I'll use a little bit of purple just where I put these marks. That's going to make it a richer color. And again, if I get too much paint, I can always come back. Alright, now where I see the brown and yellow and orange marks coming out from the flower, I want to make sure I capture that. So I'm going to take a little bit of brown and a little bit of orange, and I'm just going to paint outward from the flower, kind of like this. Just little dagger strokes coming out. A little bit of brown, a little bit of orange. Again, coming out. All right. Very good. Now we're going to come in with the green. I'm going to take some of my green. And we're going to very carefully, just like we were illustrating with a pen, again, lots of water, a little bit of color. We don't need tons of color here. Just a little bit of color. We don't want to take away from the pen that we drew with. So we're coming in with just a little bit of green. Again, using that sable brush to get those points. Trying to stay within the lines here. Again, more water, less paint. So I'm going to add a little bit. Once I put this green down, I'm going to come in. Again, I'm spreading this out. Not too thick, not too thin. Enough where we can still see. And what I'm going to do is when it's still wet like this, when the green is still wet, I'm going to come in and add a little bit of yellow. Just a little bit of yellow here, just to give it some variation. A little bit of yellow here, a little bit of yellow there. That will help tie it all together. And let's not forget that little bud in the background. Very good. And maybe I'll add a little bit of blue where I want it to be a little bit darker. A little bit of blue here. And maybe a little bit of blue on this side. A little stroke of blue with the green. Just to give it a little bit of variation. A bit of blue. A little bit of green. All right. There it is. Now, we're going to put a light wet on wet wash in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm just going to put some water here every once in a while. Just some plain clear water. I'm not going to touch the picture. I'm only going to touch the water that I laid down. And what that's going to do, that's going to make a nice background. So again, I'm taking a little bit of water, just straight water, put the water down, and then maybe put a little bit of blue inside of it, maybe a little bit of purple. That's a little too much there. So if you get too much, again, wipe your brush and just pick it up. But that gives it a nice, that wet on wet gives it a nice background. So again, water, a little bit of paint. And what that does, again, it pushes out the colors, the yellows, because purple is the complement. So I'm not going to touch the flower. I'm just going to bring in a little bit of paint. And of course, we're going to want to sign this. So you'll need to get your pen out. And you can put the name of the flower if you want. I'm just going to sign it and put the date. (2021). All right, so again, the process for drawing your flower is, first of all, finding a high-resolution reference photo that you can use, something that has the flower that you want, then simply using a pencil to sketch it out. Once you've sketched it out and you're happy with your sketch, it looks well balanced on the picture plane, you're going to take an outline with permanent marker or dark colored pencil. Once you've done that, you're going to get a little bit of water, a little bit of color, and you're going to start to touch up, putting the color where it belongs according to your reference picture. And after that, you're finished. So I look forward to seeing your flowers. Have a good day.